The following is a conversation with Héctor Ruiz, an illusionist from Spain that travels across the world with his show. He's performed at some of the most important TV shows in his field, the largest cruise ships in the world, and he has toured with big magic productions, including The Illusionists live from Broadway. He's looking forward to having you in the audience so he can show you his unique touch to the art of illusion. Stay with us if you want to learn about Héctor's take on creativity, how he became an illusionist, how COVID-19 has affected his craft, and a lot more about how he understands the world. Without further ado, I want to introduce you to Héctor Ruiz, or the Héctor Ruiz Show. So, hi Héctor, how are you doing today and where are you connecting from?
Hi. I'm actually now somewhere in between Cyprus and Israel, on the sea, on a cruise ship.
So as you might learn along the interview, part of Héctor's show happens in cruise ships, but we'll learn a bit about that later. The first thing I would like to know, Héctor, is how you got started with magic and the art of illusionism.
Actually, I fell in love with it when I was a little kid, and it's been with me since then. But I always count from one specific moment. When I was 8, I was in your city, actually, in Malaga, on vacation with my family. And I remember going across the street or in front of a hotel that had a huge poster of a magic show happening that evening. So I was like, Dad, Mom, I need to go to that show. Like, this is what I love the most in the world. So we went in, we watched the show, and we waited for the magician to finish everything and talk to him. And that literally changed my life forever. So he was kind enough to talk to us, to explain to us a little bit about the craft. And we gave him our phone number. At the time, I was 8 years old. So we're talking quite a few years ago. And there were no cell phones, no Google, no anything. So he called home a few days later when he found out where I could learn magic in my city, in Sevilla. So he called home. My parents brought me to that magic club kind of thing. And that's where I started learning magic. And since then, it's been my biggest passion. And at some point, it became my profession as well.
Yeah. So when you mentioned profession, I know that before on previous conversations with me, you've mentioned that you didn't initially see this as a profession that you could have, right? Like you would see this as something that maybe the top magicians in the world could have, but you didn't understand it as something that traditionally you could just go into and get prepared for.
Yeah, because society, we all know you can become a doctor or you can become an architect or these usual careers that we can become, but you don't know you can be a magician. So even myself, I was a magician and I didn't know I could become like a professional magician and make a living out of this. At that time, in between 8 and 18, when I was learning and preparing myself and all these things, I was starting to do like birthday parties for kids and these kind of little events and making some money, but not like thinking big about it. And at some point when I was 18, I received a call from a theme park from my city in Sevilla, Isla Mágica, which happens to be Magic Island. So they called me to offer me being part of the park with my show, having my show there every afternoon, twice a day for 3 months, like for the summer season. And obviously I accepted. And when I realized that was actually my profession, like I was making a good living with it, and I decided to take it seriously. Before that, I thought just like big names like David Copperfield or things like that could become a professional magician. But there are different levels and I didn't know.
How was the show in Isla Mágica? Was that the first show you created, or was that a show that you had before and you adapted? How did it happen? How was the show?
Well, I obviously was not ready for such a thing. And every time I start a new path, like the cruise ships that we're going to talk later, I wasn't ready for it. So I was just adapting what I had for that market. Lucky enough, it worked. People liked it, and the directors for the park liked it, and they kept me on for another year after that. So for the second year, I used everything that I learned that worked and didn't work, and money that I got from it, I invested it in the show to make it bigger and more like a theme park kind of show. And the second year is the one that I count as the first one with the proper show for the theme park. So from then on, I started learning which kind of show works for a theme park, because you have to think it's people that didn't go there to see a show. They are in a theme park getting wet and going on slides and things like this, and suddenly they're in a theater watching a 25-minute show. They prefer to be on another thing outside. That was a huge learning experience for me. forever, I will always say that the theme park was my school, like my professional school. I'm so thankful I had that opportunity for a few years to be performing there.
And what would you say were some of those key elements that made it entertaining for people who were, on the slides and then suddenly come here? And what were some of those key elements?
How fast everything has to be. Like when you are in an actual theater and you pay a ticket for a show, you can have somebody explaining something for you for 20 minutes and it's fine. When you're in a theme park, everything happens super quick. It has to be like pam, 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 pam. A lot of information. Otherwise, they're going to go eat or go somewhere else. So I would say the rhythm of the show, like how to make everything go in a nice rhythm and have something always happening. Sometimes magic tricks take a long time to develop to happen a magic effect at the end. I don't know if that makes sense. To prepare for the effect. In my opinion, in a theme park, you don't have that time. It has to be shortened. Otherwise, it's not going to work.
What are your current shows' length compared to Isla Mágica? So you say 25 minutes.
So in Isla Mágica, it had to be between 25 and 30. And when you do 2 shows a day, every day, at some point, they're always exactly the same, 27 minutes in my case. And now on cruise ships, they have between 45 to 50. And it has to be very precise because on cruise ships, all the activities are very well organized. So while I'm doing the show, another humongous group of people are having dinner somewhere else and everything is calculated. So I finish here, all these people go somewhere else, then the other people come to the theater and we do the show again. It has to be very precise. You don't have that room for mistakes, or if you find yourself one day super funny and you keep on telling jokes, they're going to kill you afterwards.
What were some of the things that helped you learn, or how do you learn magic? Like, how do you become from like a kid who enjoyed seeing magic tricks and the concept of magic to be someone who's entertaining other people?
Well, I'm still that kid being entertained watching magic videos and stuff. I have never stopped being that kid. And I think it's going to work as long as I remain being that kid. The key here is do as many shows as you can, as many times as you can. That's why I say the theme park was a humongous experience and learning experience, because I had to do the show twice a day, every day for 3 months. So you learn a lot on how to listen to the people, how to remove whatever is not working and how to keep what is working and improve it. And you have to be doing the same show. That's the thing. They hire you with one show and you have to keep doing that show. So you keep on perfecting that show over the days. I think the key for everything is do as much as you can, just perform. Before I became a professional, let's say, before the theme park, I just tried to perform as much as I could, even if I wasn't paid or whatever. It was just like, there is a school with a party, let's go. So I would do as many shows as I could. And I think doing many shows is what helped me become better.
Can you comment a bit on the type of shows that you were doing before Isla Mágica and after, like the ones that you're doing now? So the transition from working at Isla Mágica and the ones that you're doing now. Were they different? Were they similar?
Basically, they're different on size. Since the first show that I fell in love with was this specific magician in the hotel, the kind of show that he was doing was what we call big illusions, like these big boxes where people get inside and they get cut in half and all these things, along to music. He wasn't like speaking during the show. So that's the image I got in my brain. That's the kind of magic that I like. So that was the kind of magic that I was doing since I was a little kid. I was looking for an act that I could perform to music and looking for music and performing to music. And since then, my show has been growing, but the main thing in my show is music and very visual and strong effects that happen. You can just look at it. You don't have to really understand what I say because it's not that important. Although some parts of my show are like acts where I talk to the people and I use people from the audience and all these things. Most of it still remains the same since I was a little kid until today. Mostly is to music and very big visual effects. It's became bigger and bigger throughout the years, obviously, because at the beginning you cannot afford it. Magic apparatus are super expensive. And I think the only thing that changed is basically size. I hope quality as well. But the transition, it's been just like learning and investing in new acts. And I didn't really have time to think when I got a new offer. Like I was a teenager working in Paris and tomorrow I'm performing in a theme park for the first time. I'm a guy performing in a theme park and tomorrow I'm performing on a cruise ship for a few months. So I didn't really have a transition. It was like, here, now you are in this position now. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So it's like sudden changes. You don't really have time to react or think. You just go with the flow and see where you end up, right? I also want to know, how does an illusionist or a magician stand out from the other, I wouldn't say competitors, but like fellow magicians, right? Like other people. How do you define your tricks in a way that they're unique and in a way that maybe, I don't know, there is that sense that some magicians might buy tricks from others or like knowledge, or maybe they copy, they do similarly, or the effect is similar, but maybe the technology behind it is different. How do you manage to stand out, right? To do something that is unique and maybe learn from others?
In my case, what I try to do now, I try to only perform things that I invented myself. So if you come to my show, except for a couple of things that are classics that I love, everything is going to be the first time that you see something like that. You haven't seen anything like that before. That's my goal. That's what I think differentiates me from other magicians. But that's a very tough box to get into. There are classics that are so amazing that refusing to perform those is actually a hard decision to make. And responding to the other thing, like magicians doing other people's tricks and things like that, it's a very interesting thing. People who design tricks, we either keep them for ourselves or we make them available for the other magicians. We either sell the idea or we sell the idea plus whatever you need for the act. So sometimes it's just the idea, what is needed. Like you can do it at home. It's just, I don't know, cards, but I have this idea and that's what I sell. Or I need to build something special for you to perform the trick. So I sell you both things. And I do have a few things in the market that other magicians perform. So there are two kind of magic tricks that you can do, let's say, like classics that I'm sure you have seen, like the Chinese linking rings, these rings that link together and then they separate. That's a classic. Everybody can perform them. There are no rights to anyone to be paid because it's everybody's trick, let's say. It's a classic. And then there are others that you can do, but you have to buy it from the original, from the creator or whoever has the rights.
Some sort of royalties, right? Like paying for a patent or something. Do you guys have a system, or is it just like an informal way of arranging these things?
It's very deorganized. We just know this belongs to this specific person. I have an act that I call Shadowship. People know Shadowship is my act. So if you want to know, you're going to send me an email and not go somewhere else, because it's just known that if I do this trick, I know who I have to call because this trick belongs to this person.
And who would be one of the, let's say, top sellers, right? Like I imagine now that we're talking about this, that there might be some people who are selling most of the tricks, right? Like they're trying to do that for a living, more like selling tricks or artifacts or objects. Who would be somebody that you can think of?
In this case, I prefer not to tell you specific names because we rely on secrets. So if I tell you names, you can, I don't know, Google and whatever. But it is funny that you say that because there are magicians, they make their living just designing tricks for other magicians. And I think that's super interesting. There are geniuses, people who have amazing ideas who never ever perform. And I think that's super, super funny. And there are other people who only build things for magicians. There are no magicians. They don't design the tricks. They just build them. There are like work in Las Vegas and LA and things like that, where, you know, if you want to buy this illusion, the authorized builder for that illusion is this specific guy. So you have to call this guy and pay the rights to this other guy, and then you can have the trick. It's very fun.
Sounds similar to songwriters, right? Like many times there's an artist performing and there might be some songwriters that never perform, right? Oh, that's really interesting. And another thing that I wanted to know from you after seeing some of your videos on your website, I'm really excited. I would love to go to one of your shows actually to see what it actually feels like. Is there a mission or a contribution that you set yourself to do, or is that not that defined?
My acts need to give you a nice positive energy. I don't try to have these like superpowers or be this mysterious magician or these kind of things. Like I want you to live with a huge smile in your face. Feel a good vibe during the whole show with the music and the stories and the jokes and all these things. Like my mission, like I never do anything that is scary or dangerous, or I don't make fun of anybody, or like I have a rule in my head. If this is not going to give a good vibe to the audience, I'm not going to perform it.
To make people feel better when they see your act.
It's an important mission actually, because you might have a problem, but you become part of the big good energy of the theater. Like you get in the theater and you're going to live better than you got in. Make sense?
I feel the same when, there are like many different types of TV shows. And if you decide to watch one at night before going to bed, if it's going to leave you more stressed out than you were before, I don't really see the point, right? That it's like terror movies or like suspense or things that are aggressive and things like this. Yeah, that's a really nice mission or way to contribute to the world. How did you go from Isla Mágica to where you're today, right? Like, how did that happen? I know you mentioned that you were jumping from show to show, from city to theater, from many places, but how is it different, the way that you're living now? Let's say before COVID, like we'll talk about how that's changed your life. But before COVID, how was your lifestyle, right? How did you live? Where were your shows taking place? What countries? What boat? Can you elaborate a bit on that?
So answering to the first one, how I went from Isla Mágica to cruise ships, I got bankrupt. That's the answer. I went into the biggest hole of my life, and that was the best thing that could ever happen to me. So I moved to Madrid to be part of a project in a theater with other magicians and all this. That didn't work. I was 22, 23 at the time. The show didn't happen at the end, but I moved to Madrid for it. And you know, this pride where you are a young guy. So instead of going back home, I decided I'm going to become successful in Madrid. Long story short, I didn't. And I lost all of my money and my savings. And I went back to my parents' house with no money at all. So during the past couple of years, I received calls from an agent to offer me go on cruise ships. I refused because I was happy doing what I was doing. So I went back home, no money at all, no market because I left my city, and no clients. I called this agent who has been calling me, offering me like cruise ships. And I said, hey, I have a new website if you want to check it out. I wasn't asking for a job. I was just like, hey, I have a new website, which I didn't. It was the same website. It was like, hey, I'm alive, you know. Half an hour later, he called me. He made me an offer. And I said, yes, I'm in. And that's how I started on cruise ships, because I needed the money, not because any plan or anything. And how I started on cruise ships was very different to how 12 years later, which I've been on cruise ships. At the beginning, my life on a cruise ship was very different. I was on the ship for 9 months at the time. So my first 3 seasons on a ship was 9 months on the ship at the time, although my show only happened once a week. Throughout the years, I learned a lot about the market and I changed my agent. Now life is way better. Now what I usually do is, if my show happens on day 3 of the cruise, people get on board, and day 3 is going to be my show in the theater. What I do is day 3 of the cruise, I fly to the ship, whatever the ship is, let's say Italy. I fly to Italy. I perform the show that evening. The next morning, I fly back home. So that's how my life was pre-COVID. And I was doing sometimes like 2 or 3 cruise ships a week, like going to different parts of the world. So my life, especially for the past 6-7 years, it's been just like traveling like crazy everywhere in the world and doing the show. And my show going to many places. I have a few copies of my show, so my show can be in different parts at the same time. So I was just flying to wherever my show already was, my stuff, my material. I was going to these places with a suitcase with an emergency plan show. So that was my life, traveling.
So when you say copy, you mean that you had multiple suitcases with the same material, so you could perform your show in different parts?
Usually my show on cruise ships is huge. Like you need an actual track to move it. So I would have the same illusion. I have it more than once. So it can be performing in many places at the same time. So I only need to move. My things can stay. So if let's say for the whole summer season, I'm going to be performing on the same ship, my show stays there, although I don't. But my other show is on another ship, so I can be also going to another ship. And I have another one on a suitcase that I can go to another one. Logistics are crazy, but it allows me to be in so many places at the same time.
Then how does having an agent make this all easier?
Like literally everything, it's easier since I have an agent. I couldn't do my business the way I do without my agent. They got a percentage of my salary, and I am super happy to give them that percentage because they're the best thing that happened in my career. They get all of the contracts. I don't have to do anything. They get the flights, the hotels, they organize the logistics. I just go to the places and do my show, basically.
And is this an agent for illusionists or magicians, or is it just a regular agent that can deal with any type of, let's say, person who has to perform or travel?
They are the main agents for cruise lines, for entertainers who perform on cruise lines. And they found me many, many years ago. Best thing that ever happened to me. Couldn't be happier. They basically just work with artists who perform on cruise ships.
Awesome. So another thing that I wanted to learn a bit about is your career path is definitely not traditional. and you studied, right? You went to school and all of that, but then you found or you came across something you were passionate about. How do you think your non-conventional path has helped you? Because at least I see in my personal case and other people, like you end up studying something that maybe you don't end up taking advantage of or focusing on. And you might obtain side skills or things that you wouldn't have acquired if you didn't study that thing. But many times we think, what would happen if I just knew what I wanted to do with my life when I'm 20 and then I went for that? So how do you think that affected you?
I guess it's actually hard for me to answer that question because I haven't been on the other position. What I understand life is, because it's what I lived, is I fell in love with magic when I was 8, and I've been making my living with it all my life. So I don't know what starting a career is and then changing paths and then finding another thing. You know, like the thing that I fell in love with when I was a kid, it's been my life since then. I can imagine, like I can try to get into your position or someone else's position and try to imagine what that feels like. But I've been just extremely lucky that what was my hobby when I was a kid, it's been my life all the time. So
that's awesome. I see some people who they spend from age 8 to 28 or 30, they spend like 20 years trying to figure out what they want to do. And that's, to me, it seems a bit of a waste of time in some way because society, it's to prepare you for whatever, but not really something specific. And I personally think that for you, it might come more naturally, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but for you, it can seem more natural to go into magic after being doing it since you're 8. But for somebody who at age 18 decides, oh, I want to be a magician, they have, let's say, wasted or not taken advantage of those 10 first years that you were practicing.
Society is not going to help you at that age. I think if you are already going on a path, let's say you are studying to be a lawyer, and suddenly you discover magic is your passion, nobody's going to support you. Like, why would you become a magician? For real? Like, you want to do magic? Society doesn't prepare us to understand that you can become an entertainer. Like, your life, you can be a professional entertainer. Imagine you want to be a comedian. Like, what? You want to be a comedian? It makes no sense. Like, we are not ready to hear such a thing. I think people think that all these famous entertainers just popped up like a mushroom. And if you have a kid, you are not ready to hear your kid saying, I want to be a professional saxophone player. No, you mean you want to study and you also want to study saxophone. No, I want to be a saxophone player. I feel so lucky that it just happened to me. I didn't make a decision on it. I didn't tell anyone, hey, I want to become a professional magician. I just happened to be at some point.
And what's your take on talent, effort, and skill? Personally, I would think, like, I'll venture to say that you are probably really biased because if you're practicing something for so many years, you don't really know if it's talent or skill because you kind of practiced a lot. But do you have any take on that? Do you think there's effort in what you do? Do you think you had some skills when you were young that made it easier for you to get into this world?
It's hard to answer because what is actually talent? How would you describe talent?
Personally, I would describe it as something that you're born with, right? Some predefined condition that might make it easier for you to do something. Let's say effortless skill, something that comes effortless to you when you're younger. Talent could be that you're able to talk earlier than other people, or like you're able to make people laugh when you're young in a way that other people cannot do maybe. And then skill and effort might help you improve some of those skills along the way.
So I would say my talent is to be able to be in front of an audience and be entertaining. I believe I was not as entertaining when I was 12 as I am today when I perform, obviously, because it's been 20 plus years performing. My talent is to be in front of an audience and be able to be entertaining. Skill for magic, you need a lot, like crazy amount of skill, a lot of skill. Especially if you do like card magic and things like that, you need a lot of skills. And the funny thing, though, let me just tell you this because it is a very funny thought. When you see someone playing the violin, you can tell how much effort that person has put into playing the violin. Although you are not a violin player and you don't know anything about how to play a violin, you can tell how much skill that person has. Magicians, we work so hard on developing skills so you cannot see them. So it's very unfair. We work a lot, we have amazing skills, but you will never be able to tell. And that's so unfair. That being said, I think just it is funny. I don't make a huge effort to develop those skills because I love practicing. Like, as you can tell now, I have a deck of cards here on my table, and all the time while I'm talking to you, I have the deck of cards in my hand and I'm practicing moves without even realizing because I love it. It's fun for me. So although I practice a lot of hours every day, I cannot really tell because I just do it for fun. If you love reading and you read and read and read, you're going to get knowledge out of it, but you just love it.
What things do you consider require an effort from you? If you say magic is effortless, right? What things outside of magic would you say that maybe require
magic
effort?
is not effortless. Like, to become a professional magician is you need to know a lot about logistics and numbers and discussing prices and I don't know how to design an illusion. So I need to know about kind of design. And so all these things to me, like I need to put effort into those. Like developing a magic trick is not, but the rest of it around it, like finding the music and learning a choreography or hiring people, all these things I do have to put a lot of effort to make them successful because it's not as easy, let's say, to me as it is magic.
The concept of deliberate practice implies that to improve your skill, you're going to have to accept the challenge, right? And do some effort in some way to get better. But in some cases, what people do is that they really enjoy the challenge. So they enjoy the process of being challenged and accept it and embrace it. And that makes it seem like you're not really doing any effort, right? Like of course, you're doing an effort, you're stretching yourself, but at the same time, you like it. You like the fact that, oh, this is really hard, so I'm going to get better. And then you realize that I got better and now I can shuffle the cards in a different way or something like this. So I think I'm a really big advocate of understanding deliberate practice as something that if you challenge yourself daily, you'll get better and you'll acquire more skill not regardless of talent or initial skill, but that somebody with a higher level of skill than you can end up at a worse place if they don't practice enough, right? Or they don't accept that challenge to try new things and become better. You've mentioned before to me that you've also had to learn languages, or like that's being also a thing that maybe required effort and that you have done.
Again, that also happened by coincidence, let's say. I didn't really put an effort on learning the languages that I speak. When I was a teenager and the internet became a thing, there are magic forums on the internet and the main ones are in English. So I was just getting into the forums to learn magic and getting books and getting DVDs or VHS tapes at the time, all these things, and everything came in English. The instructions to learn how to do a trick came in English. So without realizing, just because I loved what I was reading or watching or researching or whatever, and it came in English, it just happened that without realizing I was learning English because I was looking for the words or trying to express myself or express an idea. And then when I went onto my first cruise ship, all my other friends, entertainers on the ship, they were all from abroad, like from Australia and things like that. So just by having a relationship with them, because of the friendship, I just improved my English. And same thing with Portuguese. All my colleagues on one of the ships happened to be from Brazil. So I spent almost 18 months with them. I just learned Portuguese. After 2.5 months, I said no more Spanish, and I helped. But that was all the effort that I put. I didn't really study. Yeah, I was super lucky. That's it. I didn't really put an effort into learning English or Portuguese or Italian.
How would you say that you understand creativity? So the process of generating new ideas or preparing what would be a new show.
In my case, I try to explore different feelings for the audience. And that's what makes me create a new illusion. At this point of my career, like before, I saw something that I liked, a trick from somebody that I liked, and I tried to make it my own. But now that I create everything that I do, I just try to explore different feelings on people. And that's what makes me create a new illusion or a new trick. So creativity to me, I have two ways. One is the one that I'm telling you, like when I try to create one with time, it happens over time. Let's say I want to create an illusion that involves cell phones, which is what everybody has on their hands now, and being contacted in a different way using a phone. This is a very abstract idea, let's say. So I had that idea years ago. I kept on adding things to my brain, like, oh, this little detail could work for this idea that I had 2 years ago. And maybe 6 months later, I read a poem and I say, oh, this concept that is in this poem is very cool for this other trick that I had 5 years ago and it's not developed yet. And at some point, I add the little last pin or bolt or whatever that I needed for an idea, and my brain just finished the idea by itself. So suddenly it comes like, oh, this is the last piece that I needed for this puzzle. And that's how I create. I don't sit on a desktop and try to create an illusion. It just happens throughout the years or the months or whatever. That's one way. And another way is pressure. And I work very well under pressure. Let's say I was chatting with you the other day and I gave you an example. A couple of years ago, I had a show in Antarctica on a cruise ship. So I flew to the south of Argentina, to Ushuaia. And it was a small ship and I had a small show. It wasn't like the big ones that I have here. So I carried the whole show with me on a suitcase. So I finished my trip to Ushuaia to embark on the ship. And my suitcase with the show didn't arrive. So I had two suitcases, one with clothes and one with the show. The one with the show stayed in Buenos Aires. It didn't come to Ushuaia. So there you have me on a cruise ship where I had to perform in like 6-7 days time. And I didn't have a show because it didn't arrive. So having all the knowledge of magic that I have in my head, I went around the ship trying to find objects and like connecting dots in my brain, like, oh, if I use this and I cut it here and I write here and I tape these things with this thing, I can create a gimmick that is going to help me to create this thing. And if I get this glass and this lemon and blah, 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 I created a 45-minute show that had to work as well as my usual show to the audience. And that was a lot of pressure. And I work very well with that. My brain goes like, oh, you can do this. Oh, and you have this idea. You can do this. Why don't you try this thing? And it just works.
Do you adjust the show and the dynamics or any aspects of it depending on the cruise ship or the location you're at or the city or something?
Yeah, 100%. For example, I perform for Disney a lot. And Disney, as you can imagine, it has a lot of kids in the audience. So although my show is very clean, I don't have like adults jokes or whatever, I adapt it to be able to connect with every age of that range because there's a huge amount of infants in the theater. When I perform in another company like this one, which is Royal Caribbean, I know I have people from all over the world. So I try to be as visual and easy to understand as I can because I don't know how many of them are really going to speak English. Like in this case, everybody's going to be from Israel. Although some of them might speak English, I cannot rely on stories or jokes as much as I can when I know everybody's from the United States. Or when I perform on these small ships I was telling you before for Antarctica, it's a ship with only 400 people, very small. We're talking here 8,000, so really small ship. And they are all millionaires, like super wealthy people. So they've seen it all. They've heard all the jokes. Like you have to be really original and very classy when you perform for these kind of audiences. So yeah, I 100% adapt what I do depending on where I go. I have my like few effects that I always do because I know they're winners and I keep them wherever I go. But the rest of the show, I always adapt it.
In case that anyone from the audience would like to go to one of your shows, what would be the easiest way or the most accessible? I know like many people from around the world might be listening. We're here in Spain, you're in Israel, the US, but what would be like the easiest way for get to see one of your shows?
For the past 10 years or so, the only way that you can really see me is if you come on a cruise. Like I do a few shows like in a theater or TV or whatever, but it's not my main activity. So I don't really like tour or things like that. So it's hard to find me if you want to see me.
How has COVID-19 or the pandemic situation, how has it changed what you have been doing for the past 10 years?
Well, basically 100%, like with many of us, right? But in my case, we're talking March 2020. I was on Disney in Florida. After the show, the captain announced from tomorrow on, the parks are going to remain closed and we are going to sail back to Florida. And basically, we are done. 2 days later, I was flying back home. And until that, I had a year of like schedule, contracts and everything for a year and a half. And that suddenly stopped there and everything got canceled. Since March 2020 until today, we are talking May 2021, I have not performed once. For the past 20 plus years, I've never been without performing for more than a couple of weeks. And suddenly I encountered myself being off stage for over a year, which is crazy. In a few weeks' time, I'm going to be on stage again.
How does it feel?
Weird, because you get used to not being on stage for some reason. At the beginning, it's really hard because I'm sure some of your listeners are performers somehow, and you feel like you need to be on stage. You need that energy. Like your life needs that. You're used to that. You need it. And suddenly you cannot have it. It doesn't matter what you want or what you do or what you try. You literally cannot. There's no way you can do it. Simply not. Like the actual industry, the cruise ships stopped. They didn't sail. So there is no way you can perform on a cruise ship because there are no cruise ships. And they're starting back. This is the first one, which is starting. And here I am. I think it's going to be very emotional.
You told me that the thing that you do couldn't be done anymore, right? That's like a big shock. And I wanted to know, how many times were you flying before the pandemic, right? Like, I guess that you were catching flights every week a couple times, or how did it work for you? How many countries have you visited and how many planes have you got?
Way too many. For 2019, as an average, I was on 4 planes a week. You try to do the numbers. I don't even know anymore how many flights or hotels or...
Your agent notes.
Yeah, probably. Probably. I know it sounds like I'm trying to be cocky or something like that. Not at all. It simply happens to be my life. Like my lifestyle is like what I was doing. Yeah, countless times. And this thing that sounds stupid that you hear sometimes and you think, oh, this guy's so cocky. Like this thing that I don't really know where I am. Like I wake up in a hotel and I don't know where I am. That literally happened to me often. Like, this is Rome. Okay. Or this is whatever. It sounds horrible. I know I'm sounding like...
No, that's crazy. It's contextualized. One thing that I'd like to know is what's changed from now on, right? At least while this COVID-19 situation is going. What is going to be different in your shows and in the way that you have to live on the boats, in the way that you have to travel? How is it different?
So we're still discovering everything. So I'll tell you what I know today, but it might change next week. We might get an announcement from the captain telling otherwise. But for now, there are new rules. I cannot take anybody from the audience to bring them on stage. I cannot go into the audience, and the audience cannot come on stage. So that's a huge thing for a magician. It might not be for a musician, but for us, we rely on people a lot. And in my case, I have people from the audience coming on stage for different things throughout the show, and this is not going to happen anymore. So I had to adapt my show for that new situation. So when you watch the show, you don't feel less connected to the show because nobody came on stage or I didn't go into the audience. It's been a challenge to adapt it that way. And I also had to add new acts into the show because those minutes of people getting on stage or me going down or all these things, there are minutes that count in the show, right? So also putting new stuff in a show that was already working. Today is my last day, but I've been for the past 15 days in my cabin. Tomorrow we can leave the cabin finally. So we've been in quarantine for the past 15 days. And tomorrow I get out of quarantine. We are not going to have guests on board until the end of the month. We are all going to get vaccinated and we have to keep on social distancing and wearing the masks and using alcohol all the time in the hands and all these things. So yeah, it's basically the life that we all have on land is going to stay on the ship. We can only get the masks off when we perform the show. That's going to be the only time.
So before we move on to some other things, I would like for you to point the audience to where they can see some of your videos and some of your material and read a bit more about the Héctor Ruiz show.
So you can go on my website, which is hectorruiz.show or hectorismagic.com. And you can also go on YouTube and try to find me there. Just Héctor Ruiz Magician or Ruiz Magic or things like that.
And we might add some of this video material to the episode when we put it on YouTube. So for the people who are listening this as audio only. One thing that I want to know is, did you get crazy in that 1 year that you couldn't do any shows and travel? And what did you do in that time?
I not only got crazy, I got depressed like hell. As I was telling you, I had a year and a half planned ahead of me. And it happened so suddenly. My brain didn't have time to react or adapt or anything. So At the beginning, I thought it was going to be for a couple of weeks and then I would fly back to the ship or whatever, but obviously it didn't happen. So at the beginning, I got very depressed, like very depressed, because there was nothing on my hand that it could be done to improve the situation. And that was hard. That was a hard pill to take. After that, I decided to remain creative. So I had a goal, which was create magic videos. You can find me on Instagram too, Héctor Ruiz Show. And if you go there, you're going to see the last few are videos that I recorded during those few months at the beginning of all this. So I decided every couple of days to create a magic video with two main goals. A magic effect, like what you see as an audience, using a secret that didn't exist before. So using a new technique or a new idea behind the illusion that wasn't based on anything that exists before. So that was the goal. The goal wasn't really to come with a great idea, but to create something 100% new from every angle. And also, I could not go and buy things that I needed. So I had to use whatever I had in my house. So that was a cool challenge. But that challenge obviously didn't give me money. And at some point, I realized this wasn't going to end up soon. So I decided to create something that could bring some money because I didn't know for how long this was going to last. So at the beginning of the year, I opened a physical business for this time for while I wasn't performing.
Can you tell us a bit about that? So this is a kind of an entrepreneurship effort, right, that you did during the pandemic?
So before, and I still do, I have a shop for magicians where I sell T-shirts with designs for magicians, let's say. We love magic so much that we love to wear a T-shirt that says like magic or I'm a magician or a magic drawing or whatever, no? That was a market that didn't exist for magicians. A few years ago, like 4 or 5 years ago, I created MrHocus.com and I designed a line of apparel, T-shirts and hoodies and things like that, and posters and things like that for magicians. So I had experience doing that. So I decided to create something that I could create from home. So I came out with an idea of mixing Spanish culture with pop culture. So I took elements from our Spanish culture, flamenco singers that we all know, or jokes that are from our country and things like that. And I mixed them with other things that are internationally famous. And I created Pájaro Flama, which is a brand. And I started creating designs and things like that for T-shirts. And I opened a new shop online. It worked so well that at the beginning, someone else was producing the T-shirts and stuff. And as today, we have a physical place where we have the production and there are people working there as we speak.
How long did it take from starting the idea until now that the things are being produced by other people that are working with you?
The first sale was done in June 19th. I took over the production before December.
So this is June 19th, 2020, and then that was December 2020.
From purchase number 1 to purchase number, I don't know which thousand. So crazy.
And for people who are watching or listening, we'll put all of these links on the show notes at gettingsimple.com so you can find this episode and go to those. I want to now turn the page and go to a new section in which we'll learn about getting simple with Héctor Ruiz, right? So we'll trying to understand a bit more about your worldview and how you understand your life. So the first thing I'll ask is, how does your day-to-day look like? I know now it's a bit weird, but usually how does it look like?
Pre-lockdown or?
I guess like pre-COVID, what is your day-to-day?
I never had a routine, to be honest. Like, I know many people work very well with a routine, but since my life was so hectic, even if I wanted, I could never have a routine because maybe on Wednesday I have to take a flight at 10 a.m. But on Thursday I had to be performing in, I don't know, Germany, and Saturday at 7 p.m. And I don't know, it's so crazy that there's no way I can be like from Monday to Friday, from 8 to 2, I'm going to be doing whatever. There's no way, simply, there's no way. So I don't really have a structure every day. I have tasks, like I have things that need to be done and I just do them as soon as I can, but I don't really have a structure.
And how do you disconnect from all this world of tasks and craziness?
I don't really do. I just decide to stop working, let's say, at some point during the day, especially when I'm home with my partner. When she finishes her work, let's say, I decide not to keep going. so we can be together and just spend our time together and all these things. But when like right now, I can be working all the time and working on the show and working on the things of the shop that we were talking about. Why not? I like it. I enjoy it. So I just keep on working. It doesn't feel like work to me. So I just keep doing it. At home, let's say I stop because I want to share my life with my partner. When I'm alone, I just keep on doing it.
Is there anything that you might regret now or regret in the future of like how you spend your time, or you think you'll be okay with it?
I'm highly productive, so I don't feel like I would change anything, because although I don't have any structure, it's been my life for so long this way that I don't feel I need it. I'm very productive with this hectic life. I just know the things that need to be done, and I have my goals and I go after them, and I don't regret anything.
Okay. And is there anything specific about how you manage your time apart from all this, craziness with your agent and booking hotels and planes?
It's very hard to answer when everything has changed radically in the past year. But before COVID, when I'm home, I wasn't doing anything related to magic at all. Like home was home. And as soon as I went to the airport, then I was becoming the magician, let's say. But before, home was home. Like no magic, no business, no anything. But now, I don't know how to answer that question because everything is very different now.
I had a question here that in some way magic makes everything possible. How does that change when you are on stage and anything can happen? And when you go back maybe home or to reality, let's say, I know your reality in part is that magic, but how does this make you understand when there's like real struggles in life or problems that cannot be solved with magic?
I'm a very positive person. Maybe it's because of magic that I think everything is possible and everything can be done. I don't mean that I never get stressed. Of course I do. I'm a human being. But I try to see everything in a positive way, and I try to find a solution for every problem before I just decide this is a problem. So I always try to find a solution, find an answer, find a way of achieving whatever goal I have in front of me. So to me, this magic mentality of everything is possible is always with me. It's my leitmotif, let's say. It's always with me.
I liked a quote from Seth Godin's latest book called The Practice the other day related to this that says, if there is a solution, why worry? And if there is not a solution, why worry? If you know it cannot be solved, there's no point in worrying. Is a good way to understand it, I think. I wanted to also know if you do any type of meditation.
No, I don't.
Okay. And any exercise, any specific thing that you consider exercise that you do?
I'm not very into sports. I've never been, really. I think this part of your life, when you develop this love for sports, I was shuffling cards. So I didn't really, for whatever reason, this is just a joke, but for whatever reason, I really developed a love for sports. I do keep on doing some sports because I'm not going to fit into my boxes, but I just have these routines that I do to stay healthy and moving more than anything. It's not like I don't go play soccer or anything. I love rollerblading, hiking.
Do you think solitude, right, time that you spend with yourself and with your own thoughts, do you think that plays an important part in your life?
Sure. That's when I am more creative and more productive. Because, for example, I love long flights. When I go from Spain to the States, for example, love them. Everybody hates them because you have to be on the plane for 9 hours. Love them because nobody bothers me. I'm not on the phone. Nobody can text me. I don't receive an email with a problem. It's just thinking, creating, finishing ideas that I had in my mind. This life of a constantly touring, you're going to stay alone for long periods of time in hotels, in flights, in between shows. And right now, 15 days in this room. So I'm super used to it. To me, like no problem at all. I'm super happy being alone. And that's when I'm more productive. Like I keep on reading and studying and getting ready new things and new goals. And I love solitude, let's say. Not that I don't enjoy being with other people, don't take me wrong. But when I'm alone, I enjoy it. I love it.
Yeah, no, I can perfectly understand and relate to that. And I don't know who thought that in-flight Wi-Fi was a good idea. We had that. That's like the moment where you reserve a space for yourself and I can go through this book. I can use my computer to do this thing. I can watch these movies or just relax. And I think that when I've gone into flights that you connect to Wi-Fi, it changes a lot the experience. So let's say that we don't manage to create those moments in our daily lives, right? We could switch off the Wi-Fi for like 8 hours or like 3 hours in a row, but we don't do it because we're used to this influx of communication and need to be connected immediately, right? And I don't know how that affects us, but definitely not the best thing to have if you're trying to be productive.
Phone is horrendous. Social media is horrendous. It's a drug. It's terrible. And I'm actually experiencing this kind of constant connection now these 15 days, because these 15 days in lockdown in this room, the only thing that connects, I'm far from home and I'm trapped in a room. So the only thing that connects me to the world is the phone, either social media or WhatsApp or YouTube or whatever. And I'm getting like so used now to be on the phone all the time these days. And it's like more than usual. I'm not enjoying it at all. But even though I'm not enjoying it, I'm still on the phone all the time.
Yeah, it's hard to get disconnected from it, right? Like you need to leave it in another room, or which you cannot do right now, or like do some hacks, right? Moving to another question, how would you define success?
I feel I'm a very successful person, and I've been all my life because I've been able to only do what I love to do. I've never done anything that I didn't love. So I think success probably might be being able to do what you love as much as you can, right? Probably. I don't think money defines success, or a luxury car or a huge house. If that is what you want, fine. But I don't think that defines success. I think success is spending the little time that we have on this earth doing what you love.
Do you have any references of other people that you consider that are or have been successful?
David Copperfield, the famous magician, has been a hero of mine my entire life because I always loved what he's done. And I was performing in Las Vegas for a TV show a couple of years ago. And I happened to go to his show and meet him for a couple of minutes after the show. And I don't think he's successful. He's done the best shows on the world. He has sold more tickets than any magician will ever sell. He performs every day in Vegas. He's a multi-millionaire performer. But I could feel he hates it. I don't think he's a happy person at all. Like his show was miserable. It was so sad to see a sad performer. Like he's a slave of what he does. So at some point during his career, I'm sure he felt on top of the world, like the happiest person on earth. I don't know him. Don't take my word, but I feel he's not. I don't really have now an example because we are trained as a society to define success to money and to like professional success. And to me, success is as simple as being happy doing or being able to spend as much time as you can doing what you love, whether it's your job, which could be, or spending time with your family, or I don't know, whatever it is. That's success in life.
Yeah, I like that definition of success. Talking about money, is there anything that you can think of that costed you less than $100 that has had a positive impact in your life recently?
A deck of cards. This changed my life forever. This is the best investment I've ever done. Deck of cards. And then obviously books mainly, right? But yeah, literally a deck of cards.
Probably under $5 or $10, right? What would be some book recommendations for people who want to get into what you do, into magic or illusionism?
When I started, there was no internet. So you really had to fight to learn. And for example, what I love is stage magic. And at the time, it was almost impossible to find because it was very easy to find books on card magic. But if you wanted to learn the big stuff, it was almost impossible to find. Nowadays, you just Google for card magic. And if you want to learn card magic, or I'm not even able to recommend you anything because it's as easy as Google whatever you want. I would say just try to go for a beginner's kind of book, obviously. Otherwise, you're going to find yourself trying to learn super hard techniques and you're going to hate magic. But yes, magic is so nice. You learn an easy trick. There are many things that are super easy that I can teach you in 2 minutes, right? That doesn't mean that I will. That you can learn. It's so rewarding. As soon as you perform one of these tricks to somebody, you're going to feel on a cloud, right? People are going to be smiling and happy. And how did you do that? And, it's such a nice art. I think it's better than any other. It gives you feelings as a performer and as an audience that no other performing art can give you, I think.
What do you think about guessing the tricks or telling people the tricks?
I've had different opinions throughout my life, but at this point, it's as valuable for me as somebody who doesn't try to guess them and just enjoy the magic, because that's the way you enjoy magic. That's it. Like some people enjoy it just as a kid and in a mysterious way and trying to be amazed and amused, and some other people just try to guess it and take it as a challenge. Both cases are cases of somebody enjoying magic in different ways. So my job is done. Make sense?
Yeah. Is there anything that we can see with your cards today? Any trick or anything? Or
you should have said this before. Let me see.
And another thing for people who are watching the video version or listening the audio version, for the audience, I'll say that in the future, when we can reunite in person, we might also record a few tricks or something to put on YouTube.
Let's try something. I've never tried this. I'm going to go like this with the cards. Yeah, I'm going to try to make them visible for you. And I want you to look at one, just one. Okay? Just don't try to be picky. Just whatever card you see. Yeah? Just don't make it this one because it's obvious. But don't say the card. Just say, I saw it. Huh? You saw one?
Yeah.
Probably it's hard on it. I'll do it again. Forget whatever you have in your mind. I'll do it again. It's slower. You saw one?
Yeah.
Yeah? You have it in your mind?
Yeah.
Don't say it out loud. Huh? I'll try something with this card. Card in your mind.
What's the card in my mind?
Yeah.
K Hearts.
K Hearts. That's King of Hearts. Right?
King of Hearts. King of Hearts.
Okay. So you saw the Joker that I have in my hand, right?
Yeah.
So let's try this.
Awesome. Yeah, I think everyone probably saw the first move as well. So I don't know what everyone picked, but yeah, that was nice. That was nice. Awesome. So cool. We're starting to wrap up, and I don't know if you want to comment on anything, if there's any other message that you want to share with the audience now that we're here.
It's going to sound super typical and cliche, but I mean it from the bottom of my heart. I really do mean it. Follow your dreams. For real, follow your dreams. We're going to be here for such a short period of time that it's going to be so sad to waste your time doing something that you don't love. So follow your dreams. I'm a magician. Like, who could tell that somebody could be a magician? I've been doing magic all my life, so you can do whatever you want.
Awesome. Yeah, there is, not to sort of a counterpoint, there is this book by Cal Newport called So Good They Can Ignore You, right? That this is something I've mentioned in the podcast many times, but it argues against the follow your passion advice, but at the end it kind of gets back at it in a different twist, which is that it's not necessarily only, at least I feel, to follow your passion, but also to become really good at something that you enjoy doing, right? It works both ways, right? Some people might say, okay, I want to do this thing, but I have to become really good at it. Or maybe I'm doing this thing that I have to learn how to enjoy it more and then convert that into your passion. But either way, I think it works that you need to be really good at it to be able to live from it. That's the problem with some people, right? So for you, with 10, 20 years of experience, you were sure, like, this is my passion. I like it. I'm going to go into it. For somebody who's working as a, software developer, an architect, or a constructor or something, and they say, oh, my passion is, and I think he puts this example in the book, teaching yoga. And then you go into teaching yoga and you're really bad at it. You don't really get any money. You don't have a way to live with it. It's a bit of a mess. But yeah, that's really good advice.
That's also if you want to make a living with that.
Yeah.
What I mean is just spend as much time as you can doing what you love. If your dream is, let's say, play guitar, follow your dream. Like, do it as much as you can. Maybe it's going to become your job at some point, but follow it. Like, work on it and spend as much time as you can doing what you love, because you're going to regret it, I guess.
No, and that makes a lot more sense now. I think even if you have to do let's say a job that sucks, but if that's going to be able to finance the things that you like doing and spend time on that, I think that makes a lot of sense.
Be miserable for the rest of the day. Spend your time doing what you love.
I think this is it. I think we've learned a lot from you. I think this is an interesting counterpoint with other guests that we've had, and I really enjoyed learning about your take on effort and creativity and magic and all these things of how COVID has affected you. It's true that for some of us, like for me, I was working remotely even before COVID, and I didn't really get affected that much other than not being able to travel to some events and maybe meet with my team physically. But this is kind of a call to all the people who also felt the same way, that the thing that they like doing or the thing that they rely on doing to live cannot be done anymore with this new situation. So hopefully things get better and we get started, we start getting back to normal to some extent, whatever that is. Thanks a lot for your time, Héctor.
Thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure. It's been a lot of fun.
And yeah, hopefully we can have you on the podcast in the future in some other form. I really enjoyed it. I hope everyone who listened enjoyed it as well. Thanks so much, everyone, for watching, for listening, and we'll see you next time. Bye.